Bloodborne is one of From Software's popular games for being super hard like the Dark Souls games. Except in this one, there's no souls, it's blood. Instead of being set in a medieval-style era with knights and castles and dragons, Bloodborne is set in a Victorian-age London-style town based on the architecture and the accents the NPCs have. If you're thinking about getting into From Software games, Bloodborne is on the easier side compared to Dark Souls. The inventory feels cleaner, there aren't nearly as many confusing items, and the areas all feel more linear and connected, and the builds are easier to make. My favorite build is a 99 Arcane, which means from only being level 120, the average stopping level, I put 83% of my levels into Arcane until it was maxed out. And if you're new to Soulsborne games, then I would recommend doing a non-specific build and mess around with all the different weapons you find to figure out what you enjoy before committing to something like a 99 Arcane. There's plenty of weapons and builds, so it's fun to get creative and discover them on your own instead of following a playstyle. I only had 22 points in Vitality, which is pretty low for health for a new player, but once you know what you're doing, then it's not really too bad. It takes a while for an Arcane build to get good, so you will struggle until you start getting all the hunter tools. Beating Papa Guac will always be a struggle, but after him I would go immediately get the Flame Sprayer, since that's one of the only 3 left-handed weapons I use. And then use all the Bloodstone shards you have up to this point to level it up as much as you can. And then using the Blood Cocktail, Oil Urn, and Flame Sprayer technique on the Bloodstarved Beast, he shouldn't be a problem. After that, if you want to befriend Jura and get his emote, go say hi to the Bagman outside the Cathedral Ward and punch the electric dog until he's dead.
It's time you got going. But first, a farewell gift. I have no use for it anyway.
Vicar Amelia will always be a bit of a struggle depending on how you play, but she is weak to fire as well. Unless you have a certain weapon you love to use, I would recommend going to the Hunter's Nightmare after you kill Amelia and running very fast to the Amygdalin Arm. And if you have a favorite weapon, you could do an Arcane build around that weapon until you get the Cause Parasite, but it probably won't be very strong in Arcane because it'll be based on strength or skill. And all of the good Arcane weapons are in the DLC, like the Holy Moonlight Sword and the Cause Parasite. But good luck fighting Ludwig at this level. I usually fight him around 100 and still ride the struggle bus for hours.
Have you seen the light? Are my church hunters the honorable Spartans? I hoped they would be. Oh my! Just as I feared. Then a beast-possessed degenerate was I, as my detractors made eminently clear. Does the nightmare never end?
The Amygdalin Arm is just a really slow club, but once you get the timing down for swinging early for enemies, it staggers almost every opponent, both small and medium, sometimes even large ones. By now you should have a few of the hunter tools and be a pretty high level depending on how much you grind. The One Unborn and Mikolash shouldn't be a problem, especially with the Flame Sprayer and the Amygdalin Arm respectively. The Wet Nurse wasn't much of a problem either, since you can keep your distance and cast a Call Beyond or the Executioner's Glove. Gehrman is hard, but he shouldn't take too long if you're close to level 120. And I killed the Mood Presence in the same life, because that thing is super easy. The DLC bosses are all way more difficult. Ludwig takes me a long time, as always. Not many people have a problem with the Living Failures and struggle with Lady Maria, but it was opposite for me. Maria only took me a few tries, and the failures took a lot longer, probably because they're too relatable. Everyone struggles with different bosses, so don't feel bad when you get stuck on one others say wasn't a problem. You probably thought one was easy that they couldn't beat for a long time. After you beat Lady Maria, if you go and talk to the doll, she will give you some special dialogue. And after you kill Orphan of Kos, if you talk to her again, she will give you more, this time talking about Garen.
Good hunter, this may sound strange, but have I somehow changed? Moments ago, from some place, perhaps deep within, I sensed a liberation from heavy shackles. Not that I would know. How passing strange. Oh, good hunter. I can hear German sleeping. On any other night, he'd be restless. But on this night, he sounds so very calm. Perhaps something has eased his suffering.